Okay, Professor Emmons. So I know you've been talking about why gratitude works, but what hinders gratitude?
Yeah, if we only talk about the goodness of gratitude, it's like we tell half the story,
Yeah.
right? And so we can't really live grateful lives or practice gratitude or create cultivate a disposition for gratitude unless we're aware of all the things which get in the way of it. And there are so many. I mean, just our tendency to be self-absorbed, our tendency to want to take credit when things go well. It's just kind of the way the human mind works, right? We want to take all the credit for success, right? The fact is we want to be self-reliant. We don't like being dependent. Being dependent can be very uncomfortable for people, and gratitude requires that. It requires admitting that we're imperfect, that we need something. We need other people to help us do things that we can't do for ourselves. We want to pull it off by ourselves, right? And gratitude says, no, we can't do it by ourselves. We need other people. And for many of us, that could be a moment of discomfort. Another is just feeling a sense that I deserve what I get. I've worked hard for it. I'm entitled to it. I deserve it. And you can't be grateful and entitled at the same time. The two just don't go
Wow.
together. Right? And there's just the tendency just to focus on what's going wrong in life. You know, the so-called negativity bias, which pervades our minds and our daily lives and our attitudes. It causes us to notice what's going wrong. It causes us to focus on what's bad instead of good. It causes us to focus on complaint instead of compliment, on dissatisfaction compared to delight. And so if that's our default mode, right, we need to somehow turn off that switch. And we need to perpetually hear good news. We need positivity to outweigh that negativity. So I think gratitude is effective partly because it does that. It helps amplify the good, magnify the good in our lives, so it can turn down the volume on the bad, at the same time pumping up the volume on the good. So gratitude comes to displace negativity, displace complaint, displace entitlement and resentment, and show us, there is another way. There's another way of looking at the situation that can be very freeing, can be very liberating, and very empowering to say, you're not the product of your circumstances, because you can choose to look at it any way that you can. And Viktor Frankl, the great legacy of him in the concentration camps was that, they could take away all his physical freedoms, but he said, the one thing they can't take away is my freedom to think about the situation in any way that I choose. So the captors that kept him in there, he thought they may have more physical freedom, but I actually have more psychological freedom, right? I'm liberated to interpret the situation any way possible. And that's the beauty of gratitude. You can interpret adversity as opportunity, as possibility, and convert that just through a mental process. And so there's so much power in gratitude, partly because it is this internal attitude, this disposition, this way of looking at life, really that may not even have that much to do with life.